Welcome to Inspire, Innovate, Ignite Conversations That Count. And tonight we are going to be talking about, or whatever time of day it is, or night here in the Pacific. We are going to be talking about self-worth, self-esteem, and empowerment. And this is such an important topic because women are often raised to believe that we're not good enough. We have that running pattern in our DNA, it seems. And, it doesn't help with magazines and social media and ads and society and everything telling us, showing us if we were only this and this, we'd be accepted. So we also tend to create an internal bully that loves to criticize. We beat ourselves up, compare ourselves to other people, and that self-doubt and criticism is so self-sabotaging, and that is what leads to the low self-esteem and low self-worth issues. So today our panelists are going to be talking about this, and they're going to be sharing their experiences and giving you tips, and we're going to have you're going to get so many insights. So I'm really excited about this topic. I think most women can relate to it at some stage of their life. And we've got some great panelists here that I'm going to introduce in a minute. Just wanted to let you know that this is put on by the Sacred You, and we've got lots of live events and lots of classes and lots of wonderful things going on over there. So we'll put the link in there a little bit later for you, or you'll see it below. So you can check it out yourself. And so let's talk about our guest. Let me just introduce you to Grace. Grace Hart is the host of Up Your Vibe Tribe, and she's a law of attraction life coach, and she helps people break through vibrational barriers that sabotage and frustrate their manifesting results, creating access to all that lights up their soul. So perfect guest for today. Thank you, Grace. Jennifer Regular is the transformational author of Embrace Your Power, a healing journey of self-discovery, and a soul-centered empowerment coach at Lighting the Path, where she aligns visionaries with their passion and their mission to focus on the difference they want to make in the world and experience deep light satisfaction. So thank you, Jennifer, for being here. It's wonderful. And Josette Diaz is the founder of Guidance to Wellness, and she's a guide and a champion to women who are rediscovering themselves. She teaches self-mastery through slowing down, listening deeply, and connecting within. And she's developed a signature coaching program named Seasons of the Soul, using the 4 seasons as archetypes for change. And she's also coined her own version of healing as a Reiki master teacher in her signature healing journey meditation. So it's similar to maybe like a shamanic journey. And Josette is also the host of the tribe. I can't remember the name. Self-Esteem through, what is it, Josette? Help us.
I know it's long.
It's long.
It's gaining self-esteem through heart-centered values. It's
Perfect.
Pretty long.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I didn't know where to start. So thank you. And this is a perfect space for you to talk about your expertise. And I'm an intuitive mentor and a visibility expert for women, and I help them with the barriers that are stopping them from accelerating their visibility and success, or creating next level. And I'm also a best-selling author, speaker, and internationally recognized in the world of business, online marketing, and awakening consciousness. So what I'd like to do here is I would love to go around the room and just, I would love to know, and I think listeners could really relate to you, if you could share what helped you, like what are some personal markers that helped you become aware of your own self-worth and self-esteem journey, and how were you able to successfully navigate it, become empowered and navigate it? So we'll just start with Grace, because I'm just going to go in the row. So Grace, would you mind sharing?
There we go. Sorry, it wasn't unmuting for me. I have grown up with low self-esteem. This has been my journey pretty much. I sort of was in those formative years, seemed to miss out on some of those extra special ingredients that we need to sort of build up that strong sense of self and self-concept. And I knew that I felt very different from everybody else right from the start. And it was really, I don't know what the marker was that pointed it out to me. I suppose just feeling inadequate in amidst the world, my life experiences. And it became my quest to kind of become comfortable in my own skin and to find some way of feeling comfortable in the world and relate to the world. And so I've, just done a huge journey over the years of all sorts of different things. So I've forgotten what the second part of the question was for.
Yeah, just how you were able to navigate it. I think, just your search, right? Your journey is just,
Mhm.
I remember always wanting to be normal and never feeling normal. And it's like, well, what is normal? Like, and now I want to be anything but normal. But we all start at a point where we're comparing, right? We're looking
Yes.
around and we're like,
Yes.
well, I'm not like them. I must not be good enough, or I
Yes.
must be inadequate. Or I love that. So perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jennifer, would you like to share?
Okay, I will. I was born really late in life. My mom had me when she was later in age, and my sisters were actually 14, 18, and 20 the year I was born. And my mom didn't find out she was having me until 6 months later. She thought she was going through menopause. So when the doctor told her she was pregnant, she told him to go to hell. And it was too late to have an abortion. This is what I was told. And so, having had 3 girls already, she hoped for a boy. I wasn't. And so, it was since then, 48 years ago, that I've been trying to find my way and reason for being here, because I knew there had to be one. But I felt like I had a lot to make up for. So, I was always quite often, trying to seek approval and acceptance and fitting in and finding my way, and not always relating to the people around me, because they also saw things very differently than others, being an introvert, being an empath. So it was quite a journey, and I won't go into all of it, of course. This is just a little introduction, but it's been a lifelong journey in trying to figure out who I'm meant to be here and what I'm meant to be doing. And that's the journey I continue to be on, and that's the kind of path that I light for others that come into my path. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I had a realization not too long ago that I made the family of 4, and that's why I was relevant in that family. And it was just because it was the thing to do, to have, a family of 4. And it's like, wow, that really impacted me in ways that I, in big ways. And so these things that we remember as we are seeking the truth about who we are, as we are going on this journey of uncovering and trying to make sense of things is amazing. So thank you for sharing, Jennifer. Appreciate that. Yeah. And Josette.
Well, I'm going to pick up where you left off, because I think that where you start in life is the beginning of where our self-esteem starts to develop. And I was born into a family where my parents were really young. And so I don't believe my mother really wanted to have me at the time that I was born. And so I always had a hard time with feeling like I belong and I fit in. And so that affected my self-esteem growing up. I think the turning point for me was when I started to enter the working world, and I received different feedback being in a customer service environment that I wasn't aware. I had no self-awareness of how I communicated or what that was like, because I never felt I really quite belonged. And so that was the beginning of that journey of accepting myself, seeing myself for the truest pieces of me that really were welcomed. And so that's where it started for me.
Thank you. I think we all want to belong, and the women I work with too, they want to matter. They want to matter. They want to belong. And so for many of us that are on this journey, that are light workers or way showers or coaches, whatever we are in the world doing this work, we've always thought of ourselves as being different. And it's so great to have a community like this where we can talk about it, and where people feel like they belong, where they actually, it's like like minds come together. It's like, yeah, this is the place where people like me. And it's so great to belong. It's so great to feel accepted for who you are. Otherwise, it's a lonely path. It can be really lonely. So I would love to hear about that from you guys. How did you feel? How have you felt going through this? Did you feel lonely? And how did you become empowered? Like what stood out for you? Maybe you can give a tip to the audience on how to become empowered, how to get over the hump of not feeling like a fish out of water. So Grace, let's start with you.
Yeah, gosh, how did I overcome that? I definitely felt the loneliness, felt like an island all the time. And yeah, I feel for people who have the same issues, because it's not a nice place to be. It's really hard to find yourself and find that sense of self, that you can like yourself as well. And yeah, so for me, gosh, picking out the sort of a main tip, I guess for me, one of the biggest things that helped me was when I came across the Brene Brown stuff. And that was really only recent years. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff prior to that. I did a lot of training. And I really identified with her stuff. Just learning those core beliefs, changing the core beliefs on the in, really deep down, and learning to love myself for unconditionally. So I was a mothercraft nurse before, so I really understand and identify with kids and watch how people parent. And when I learned about the attachment parenting, that was like, oh, that's what I missed out on. I realized that's where what could have really been helpful for me. So I actually went back and reparented myself, and gave myself all the things that I know that I needed to be able to build up that self-esteem. So that was really helpful. Yeah.
I love that. So yes, reparenting yourself, because I mean, my mom was depressed and on the couch a lot and told us to go outside and play. And so we were outside most of the time, and you're left to figure out how to survive as a child, as a baby, really. And so reparenting ourselves, healing those wounds that come from that lack of attachment, the neglect kind of that we, a lot of us have been through. I mean, we chose to come here and learn these lessons and not be in such great families so that we could really show up and share our wisdom.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you, Grace. I really appreciate that. Reparenting is beautiful. Jennifer.
Feelings and emotions. I remember feeling unseen, unheard, unloved, misunderstood, pretty stressed because I was absorbing a lot of people's energy and moods and not understanding why. So being overstimulated by that caused a lot of stress and anxiety, some depression. Being born later in life, there were a lot of funerals to attend as well, and other forms of loss as well. And what helped get me through it was my connection with spirit, actually, and always having a deep sense of calling. That's really what pulled me through. Being able to follow that in my inner guidance when I was confused about any external messaging. then I would look within. And I spent a lot of time on my own and learning more about what it meant to be an empath also, and taking psychology in university, learning about mind and behavior and all of the things that go along with that. And just a lot of spiritual quests as well, in understanding my calling, my mission, and what it meant to be an empath. And there was one time that something I read that said, maybe you weren't born to fit in, maybe you were here to stand out. And I kind of liked that. I opened up to that possibility, and then realized that, I had a lot of innovative ideas and supports. And when I accepted that, then the whole world opened up to me. All of these people and resources just started lining up and coming into play because I opened up to those possibilities of something greater that was available and really tapped into that.
I really think faith is so important in this. I grew up Catholic, and so Mother Mary was my mother. Mother Mary was the one that she was, or any of the women saints, and then metaphysical just brought a different dimension in. It was like, if I didn't have faith going through my journey, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have trust and confidence and the ambition that I have. I think it's really, really important. And I love what you said about feeling unseen and unheard and unloved. And we have to start with our own self-love. This is the journey of self-love. In order to have your self-worth back, in order to get self-esteem, it's like you really have, it's not going to come from the outside. I mean, we look for validation on the outside, we want it on the outside, and it will come once we hold it within. So I'll just leave it there. Josette, please share.
So I would say, for me, I feel really lucky that I met someone when I was like 18 who became a mentor. And I took a journey on learning metaphysics. And part of that was learning A Course in Miracles when I was about 20. And that has always stuck with me, the power of the way that you think and the power of thought and the power of words. And as I got older and developed a career, in my career, I really started to embrace the pieces of me that were accomplishing things and what I felt excited about. So I was guided by how I felt, and that encouraged me to keep doing more. And because I had been involved in metaphysics and that inner search since I was younger, it helped me to really, really harness that ability that I felt that I was developing and had and didn't know I had before. All the time I was growing up, I was always very shy. And it was really difficult for me to be around other people because I felt so discarded. And if I did get attention, it felt like judgment. So going through these different processes of learning about myself through metaphysics and different other spiritual tools that I gathered along the way, and then having a job where I was able to, I was in the public eye, so to speak, in my company. I worked in healthcare, and that really helped me to start building my self-esteem, where I started to believe in myself. And the belief in myself is what started to increase my confidence and everything else. And the more I knew about myself, et cetera, it all started to grow from there.
Yeah, I love that you bring up, leading yourself, because you've got to have a little confidence to step into leadership. And if if we want to be influencing people, we've got to be leaders. And it's, it really does start with that. Just really accepting who you are and taking baby steps, I think, to see your value. And helps so much when other people give you feedback, because you do get the validation. So I'd love to hear about, being guided by how you feel and the accomplishments and how that helped, how you got validation. I know one time I was sitting around a table and I was asking all of my teammates, like, can you just write 3 words that you see me as, and anonymously, and just put them in a box. And the words that came back to me were so different than the way I saw myself. It was really amazing. So that's one thing that I can just offer for validation. But I'd love to hear from all of you who'd like to share. Grace, we'll just go with you then.
You just brought back a memory of mine that when I was in high school, my last 2 years of school, I moved from a public high school to a private boarding school, and it was a co-ed one. But we had some amazing teachers there, and who could really see. That's where I think I felt really seen, and they started to. One of them was an English teacher, and another one was our minister for the school, Father Stamp. He would ask questions about, just ask me questions. What do you think? What do you think? And it's like, I've never been asked what I think. I've never thought of that. And so yeah, just them getting to help me see that I was really in the world and a part of the world, and what are my views, and they are important to somebody. They wanted to hear them, and before that, I really hadn't had a lot of people listen like that before. And even at the end of the year when we get school reports, these particular teachers would have some really nice things to say about me and my nature, and I'd never seen those before. And so yeah, just things like that were really special. Yeah
It's like so important to have people around you that do see you, that can guide you, that can reflect back to you what you don't see in yourself, so that you can step up to that next level. It's like, oh, well, that is who I am. Okay. And you can keep going that way. It feels good. And I think having a space where you can listen, where you are heard, where people listen, and that it's safe to be heard.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Is so important. Yeah. It's so important for this bubble of self-esteem to grow, I think.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you. Jennifer.
Sorry, I had trouble with my button. It was sticking. Validation. When I was younger, so childhood I'm talking about, as I mentioned earlier, I would try so hard to be accepted, and I'd try to have all the right answers for the teachers, and just try to prove my worth over and over again, trying to strive for perfection rather than growth at that time. And my classmates would ridicule me, or not, I wouldn't say bully me, what's the word, like tease me about being a brainer and a teacher's pet, and they didn't like that. And the teachers would validate me being an active participant in the classroom, but my peers were not accepting of being this brainer or teacher's pet. And so that was a confusing message. And it's interesting because later in life, actually from teen years up, what I heard often was, you have so much wisdom, you're so wise. And it was humbling to hear that, but also very validating, because I did feel like I had a lot to share, and felt more understood than misunderstood, as I was when I was younger, by what I was trying to offer and put out there was to share and be with others and offer support and so on. And I was just reflecting on the difference between that, being a brainer and being wise, was that when I was younger, it all came from my head, right? Of the ways I should do and what I should be, and trying so hard, right? When I spoke more from my heart and what was inside, then I became wise. And it's interesting, we get validation on both ends. The type of validation that we receive, I think, comes a lot from where we approach what we're sharing about who we are and how we reveal that out into the world. And I think our self-esteem is a lot like that, in that it's an integration of how we view ourselves and also how others view us. That kind of molds and creates that level of a self-esteem, is how we integrate all of that. It's the fullness of who we are in relationship with others, in relationship with ourselves, our higher power, and so on. And that empowerment comes from being able to embrace and embody your ability to direct the life that you're meant to live. And I think that too is wise, and it comes more from a heart space than from the head. And I find that when I'm walking that path, then the validation comes in that everything comes into alignment, comes into order, and there's a flow. And I think that's a solid and fruitful kind of validation from that.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I just picking up on what you said about, talking about your wisdom, we've all kind of shared our childhood and how out of place we felt. And these are really gifts for us. These are gifts. And your gift being around older people who had a lot of experience was that you just naturally, embodied that wisdom. And so that's a true gift. So it looks like this wound at the beginning of, but it's really this beautiful gift that's been given to us. And I know a lot of people with self-esteem and self-worth issues are people pleasers or recovering. I like to say I'm a recovering people pleaser, or they're perfectionists, because we wanted to be liked. We wanted to fit in. We wanted to do that. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for bringing all of that up. It was beautiful. Josette.
I would say that when I was working in healthcare, I used to run a department. And so I was in lots and lots of meetings. And through that process, I started to understand what I really valued. And then I started to realize that what I grew up in, I didn't value. And so that really helped me to start identifying and carving out who I wanted to be. And I was really lucky to be in a supportive environment. I had really great women around me. I worked with a lot of women, and they were really great leaders that I felt like it was a very collaborative environment. And that set me up for the work that I do now. And because I was able to really start owning who I am, made it much easier for me to be able to help others, because I'm clear about what my values are. I'm clear about what I believe. And I also know where my hot spots are. And knowing that helps me to have good responses. So when I am in situations where a hot spot of mine gets touched and it's triggered to my self-esteem, I know how to respond to it better. And once I've accomplished a certain layer of mastery of that, another layer will reveal itself. And having that experience of knowing how to respond and what you believe in and what you value helps you to start to tackle that next layer. And it's not always, easy, and you still have to go through that healing process to the next layer. Yet it does, you continue to build on the skills. And as you do that, your self-esteem will start to get, higher and higher. And then knowing yourself is really valuable.
Yeah, it really is, especially if you have tendencies like we were just talking about, wanting to fit in and people pleasing and all of that, because then your values get kind of like fuzzy, right? You want to, if you don't even know what your values are, you're going to go with whatever anybody else says because you want to be liked, you want to belong, you want to fit in. So I love that. And I love the work that you're doing. I think it's super important. Yeah. Who do you want to be? Like, and how do you, and start becoming that? So I would love to hear some tips from all of you about how do you start taking steps towards who you want to be, and how you really thinking about who that person is. I mean, if you struggle with self-worth and self-esteem, how do you move beyond that to become that person that you want to be? How do you even start dreaming about that? So, Grace.
I think it really starts with what you just said. Just stop defining yourself by everybody else and just take a step back and start thinking about what is it that you believe about everything. What's your view? What's your standard? What do you think about the whole thing? Like really tuning into that and finding your own standards and values. They're so important. I mean, Josette, I've only really found my values in the last few years and got clear on that. And it makes such a big difference to now I know that I don't have to own everybody else's values. I'm guided by myself and what's true for me. But it is a matter of being able to unpack everything else that you've taken on from everybody else, and come back to that inner self and start afresh with a fresh slate and say, okay, now what is it about that situation or that way of responding that's right for me to do, and begin there. Yeah, starting with your own rules, your own standards, measuring yourself against yourself, not against everybody else, and those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's so true, because we do measure. I mean, that's where we start. We measure what we see. And it's really coming back to your truth, your voice, your knowing, your values, your stuff. That's your journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not anybody else's, right? Everybody else gets to do their own thing. So it's perfect. Thank you, Grace. Jennifer.
I can offer two things. One is in regard to self-talk. That vitally important is the way we speak to ourselves. I don't know if people are familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto's work with the water and the words that are into water and how much of an impact that can make. Now, the reminder of our bodies being made up more of water than anything else, all of those messages are going into our waters as well, and really affects our way of thinking and way of being and way of relating in the world. So self-talk is very important. And one simple thing, seems simple, but it's actually quite deep, that you can do is, instead of focusing on what's wrong with me, start thinking about what's strong in me. So shifting from what's wrong with you to what's strong in you can make a huge difference. And just having that shift can create more major shifts. The other thing is about living your passion. We talked about embodying your truth and who we came here to be and what we came here to do. And the framework I love to use is around passion. And when you break up that word, it's pass I on. And I, as I see it, is your soul's expression of who you truly are and the energy that you bring in through whatever it is that you're doing, and you're passing on in this lifetime and gets long remembered after you leave this earth. And so living your passion in that way is also a helpful tool. You can think of it as passing I on.
Great. I love that. I love all your little acronyms and the ways that, because it makes it easy to remember. So thank you for that. Yeah, Josette.
So I would offer the one thing that helps you to start seeing your value is to become the observer in your life. And so that just means you kind of split yourself in two in a way. That's how I describe it. because you're watching yourself as if you're in a movie. And so you get a practice of this self-monitoring, not as a demonstrative, egotistical way of looking at yourself. It's really just observing to see what you gravitate towards, what repels you. This allows you to start to really develop more of your own identity rather than what we've been looking at from the outside to validate ourselves as to who we are. Because when our self-esteem is low, we absorb that environmental cue, the environmental cues that we get. So observing what you really are attracted to helps you to really start identifying what your wishes are, what are your dreams. And dreaming is something that sometimes not everyone relates to. I have a client who didn't feel she knew how to dream. She grew up in such an environment where dreaming was not anything that was even in her purview. And then one day she was having a conversation about how she loved to put maps in her room, in her office. And someone said, "Oh, who does that?" Da, da, da. She goes, "Oh, I do. I love it because I get to dream about the places I go." And in that moment, she realized, "Oh, I do dream." And she hadn't really realized that she was dreaming all along. And so watching yourself allows you to see these different things that you gravitate towards and what really makes you you and unique, so that you can start doing that and connect with yourself more.
I love that. Yeah, just like Jennifer was saying, instead of what's wrong, go to what's strong. Instead of looking at what you don't want in your life, look at what you do want. I remember the first time I even came across the idea that had a choice. Like, what do I want? Because I was so used to doing everything for everybody else. And I think a lot of people are, like that. And so it was like, oh, what do I want? Like, I get to have a say about me, and putting yourself first. And I love the observation, so you can witness what your life is, and dream into what do you want? What do you want? And focus there instead of what's wrong, what you don't want, because that just keeps you in that loop of yuck. And so if you can rise above that in, you're strong, you're dreaming, what's right, what's good, those are higher frequency states of being. So I would love to hear from all of you about a gift that you have, a free gift or a offer or anything that's going on with you in how you're helping people. Who would like to share? Okay. All right, Jennifer.
I'd like to offer a Pathfinder session. It's 30 minutes with me. It's an intuitively guided session to light the path ahead of you.
Beautiful. Perfect.
I'll put a link to that in the chat. Yeah.
So all the links will be below for this. So for those of you who are watching the replay or watching on other streaming platforms. Awesome. Grace or Josette, did you have something that you want to share?
I do. I've got just disappeared. I've got a free, what I call a possibilities dream session, which is basically what you were just talking about, Lisa, with dreaming what is possible, especially when your self-esteem is transformed, looking at it from that angle. Yeah, and that's a 45-minute session. I'll put that in the chat as well if you like.
Beautiful. Yeah, those are both going to be super helpful for people. Josette.
Yes, I also have a discovery call that is 30 minutes to see where you are within yourself and where you want to go. And I offer a variety of different avenues in which to work with me. Some of them are free. Some of them are lower cost and some are not. And so I'll link that in the chat as well.
And you have your tribe as well that focuses
Yes.
exactly on values and self-esteem and self-worth.
Yes, I do. And that is, I hold the Gaining Self-Esteem Through Heart-Centered Values is held fortnightly. So it's every 2 weeks. And our next meeting is August 1st, and that is in the Our Sacred community. So that is a great way to access assessment of where you are with your self-esteem and to build on that. So yes. I'm sure I'll go ahead and put that in there too.
Perfect. Awesome. Great. Well, I would just love to hear from you, and let's just free flow with what's coming up for you that you want to share with the audience about self-esteem, empowerment, self-worth. Grace, do you want to share?
Oh, I'm already unmuted. Sorry, I didn't realize. What do I want to share? I think my biggest message to everybody is really that you do matter. You do matter, and do something about allowing that to be so, and work around that and find your way back to your truth and let that be uncovered, and find that authentic you. It's really important.
Yeah,
important for everything is good, I guess, because I'm do manifesting as my coaching, working with the law of attraction and things. I think it's just, our self-esteem, our self-concept has such a big impact on the quality of our vibration, and of course that's what's manifesting our experiences all the time. So it just makes sense that's such an important thing to be working on in ourselves.
Yeah, it is. It's an ongoing journey.
Yes.
Layer after layer after layer, right? As you become, even when you're super confident, you still got layers to go through. I mean, until we're not here anymore. So yeah, so for listeners, take advantage of these beautiful offers that the panelists have to help you, because it just is any light you can shine on any struggles that you're having. I mean, why not, right? This is what we're here for. We're here to help each other. And if you're around people that are, in your community, that think like you, that know you, that you can relate to, all the better. So I love that. Jennifer, free flow.
Remember that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And while you really want to embrace that human experience, you also want to claim your spiritual sovereignty and your divinity. And that truly is the antidote to imposter syndrome. And it's how you can really raise your self-esteem, and being able to direct the life that you're meant to live is how you empower yourself to do what you came here to do and become who you came here to be. So to sum it up, be you, do you.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. I mean, and if you can have that higher viewpoint, keep going back to that higher viewpoint that, we're not just a physical body. We're so much more. We're so much more than even just than our experiences. And our stories, so much more than our stories. And having that perspective, going to that perspective whenever you're feeling low or out of sorts is so helpful. So thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that. Josette.
Yes, I would say that when change happens in your life, which everyone goes through that, it's really about your responses and understanding yourself, gathering the self-knowledge is part of building the self-esteem and your confidence. And I just would like to note that you can have high self-confidence. We all know the phrase of fake it till you make it. I don't adhere to that because it then induces an inauthentic approach. And so where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. And knowing that when you start to understand yourself even more and know how you respond to things, it allows you to shift your perception. And that shift in perception is truly what a miracle is. It only takes that moment for you to think of it differently, and it can shift everything for you. And that work that you do of peeling back all of the different layers one by one, gaining that confidence in your ability because you know what you like, you know what you know, what you know, what you know. And when you have that strength within you, it starts to build everything else from there. So your responses, your choices, everything can shift in just a moment. So I would just say that you can shift it just like that if you really want to.
Yeah, good point. And it's true. It's like just one little shift in perspective can really put you on a totally different trajectory. So, and Nancy says she substitutes faith for fake it in that phrase. So faith it until you make it. I love that. It's beautiful. And then Jennifer's saying faith finding answers in the heart. Yeah, beautiful. I would love to hear from the audience. And Nancy or Leslie, do you have any questions that you'd like the panelists to answer? We have some time. So I'd love to hear from you. You can either type them in the chat or you can just unmute yourself.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I kind of feel like I was drawn here tonight. So I've worked a long time on self-esteem, and I'm through layers and have more layers, just like you had mentioned. But I think I struggle. I don't want to say struggle because I don't want to put that word into it or that power. But I think I falter with myself because things that are very simplistic or easy for me, I don't realize are struggles for others. And it's not so much that like I feel like I have, the low self-esteem when it comes to that. I think it's not knowing how to recognize the strengths and putting it out there, because I do feel like I feel so incredibly introverted when I'm initially out with the world, that I don't really, I guess I wait for the invite. I guess I wait for people to invite me rather than, step right up and, but that also comes like, I'm into astrology and I have 8 planets in Scorpio. So we're not known for being out there. We like to be way back. And so I don't know. I guess I don't know. I guess somebody may have an answer here, how they handle that with the empath and the introversion and all the other plethora that we have already, talked about. So
Yeah.
if you can make a question out of that, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. Does anybody want to answer that question or talk about the subject? I think Nancy, oh, go for it. Yeah.
I was going to just ask you, Nancy, do you sometimes feel fearful at all when you're out in public? It's just a question.
I think I always experience a level of stage fright until I step in.
Okay.
It's like I channel, so that channel doesn't open until the moment I'm supposed to channel. And once I'm there, I roll. But I always feel like there's a healthy level of respect and maybe modesty to I don't want to assume for other people. I want to be a light for other people to find their own paths. And so sometimes I'm fearful of that. I'm fearful that I may come over strong instead of supportive, I guess, maybe.
Yes, I think that can be tricky, especially if you're a channel and you want to give the message. The thing that I have learned by being a channel myself in different situations is that not everyone you don't have to give everything, right? And if it may help you to just sit down and allow yourself to examine what your parameters, where you feel comfortable when you get into those settings, so that the next time you go into a room, you know that you can enter in that room with all that you are and all that you'll give and all that you do to serve, and that there will be nothing that you can do in that space that will go against the grain of who you are.
Mhm.
And knowing what those parameters are may help set you up for the comfort level that you might be seeking. And being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. It's actually the spark of growth, right? So just knowing that you are there to serve can take away some of that insecurity that you might be feeling, because that's kind of what it sounds like. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. So if it's not that for you, then just disregard that. Yet if it does feel a little bit like that, giving yourself some boundaries for you will help you. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Of course, I've got all that Scorpio. We never talk about fear because we're fearless, right?
Right.
But yeah, I do. I'm working on a system to where I don't actually have to put all of that out there. It's already out there, and just have that automated system to do all that work for me. So I can just show up and step in and do what I do best, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me, for sure.
Good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I'm wondering, is the question, Nancy, also about when you were mentioning, like, do you feel like you need to be invited before you do your work? Are you channeling specific things that your audience has asked you for or wants to hear? I mean, that's kind of the invite, right? That allows you to flow.
Well, I think as I'm being refined, I guess is the word I want to put out there, finding the right platform is been instrumental. I'm finding that writing. I wrote a chapter in an anthology book, and that channeling really found a venue, I guess, or a funnel to go wherever it's gonna need to go. And sometimes, like, if somebody's invited me to read for them, or I'm working on, say, a human design chart with somebody and it comes up and through, then that's appropriate, where I feel like it's going. And then sometimes I just channel because that's how I personally am raising the vibration, what I came here to do, which is to accelerate everything.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I think that answers what you're asking.
Thank you. And then we have Leslie, who wants to know, dealing with fear, or is it shame? What's the difference? Does anybody want to talk about the difference between fear and shame? Jennifer.
I can share a couple of thoughts on that. Fear is often rooted in safety, not feeling safe, where shame is rooted in not fully stepping into your power. So one of the practices I used to offer for my healing clients is integrated energy therapy. And shame we hold around in our collarbone area. And the lower vibration is shame, where the higher vibration is spiritual pride. And so we release the energy of shame to integrate the energy of spiritual pride. In fear, it's related in our kidney area. So physically, we might feel it around there. And as we transcend our fears and release our fears, then we integrate the energy of safety and protection. So you can maybe reflect on how is shame or fear showing up for you? Is it more about safety or stepping into your power? What's really going on there? That might little more information that can kind of help you get to the deeper truth that's hidden in all of that.
That's great. So, Leslie, if you want to unmute yourself or type in the chat, if you have any more, if you have, let's see. Great, thank you. Okay, perfect. So that answered her question. Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I think it's, it just really resonates with so many women. And, thank you, all of you panelists, for being here and sharing your wisdom. I know I've gotten something out of it, and I think probably all of you have. We're all sharing our wisdom. And thank you, Nancy and Leslie, for showing up, and those of you on the streams wherever you are, and those of you watching the replay. And if you have any questions, you've got your experts here who can help you. So just want to say thank you so much. And we do this. We have panel discussions. They're available on the website, sacredyou.love, under featured events. And I'll have Sophia finish up with the information on sacredyou.love community. And I'm gonna say goodbye because I've got another commitment. So thank you guys all for being here. It's great talking to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so very much. And I just wanted to thank everyone for coming, Jennifer and Grace and Josette, who's sharing wisdom, and also Nancy, Leslie for popping in and joining us, and of course our beautiful Angel who's there sharing everyone's links as we're speaking. Coming up next week, our next panel discussion is Healing the Natural Way. That's coming up on Tuesday evening, in a week's time, exactly this time in a week. But Nancy, if I could just say, I've been listening to what you've been talking about, astrology, and being, having all the planets in Scorpio, and your interest in human design. In August, we have 2 panel discussions coming up about living our life with astrology and tarot, and also the power of human design. So you're more than welcome to join us for that. At the moment, the actual panel's full, but please do come and join us in the audience. And if we have any cancellations, if you like, I can reach out to you and you can be on the panel if you want to. You're more than welcome. And for everyone who is watching us, who's joined us and is watching us live, of course, come and join us in Sacred You. We are offering at the moment, you can join us just for $1 Australian. And for 3 weeks, you get to experience Josette's tribe on gaining self-esteem through hearts and values. Also, Grace's tribe, upping your vibe. We all need to raise the vibration. I think for me, it's definitely part of self-esteem and empowerment. And all our other tribes, we've got about 30 other tribes. You get to try them all for $1 for 3 weeks. And then after that, it's just $15 Australian a month. We have lots of panel discussions coming up, August, September, October, and November. Do click on the links and come and join us. And thank you, everyone. Seriously, it has been wonderful to listen. And Angel's putting in messages in the chat, so thank you, Angel. And we will say farewell to Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else. And we'll